What's up, everybody? Welcome back to On the Warpath. Sanchez 405 with you. If you're new, make sure you click that subscribe button. You hit the bell so you get notifications anytime there's new content posted. As always, like, comment, share this video out. Y'all know what we do here. We talk about the Washington Commanders. Typically, we're doing this pre-recorded, but there were some things that happened, so I didn't have to necessarily do that. So good, but we have William with us as always to preview the opponent, and thank God we don't have to talk about a game. So we might not hit that long stretch as we have in the past. But William, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. I'll tell you. I mean, it's nice to not have to recap a game in fear of a loss, but I mean, it made my Sunday feel a little lonely. It was a little lonely. It was like that Thursday Eagles week, but on steroids. Of I'm sitting on the couch and the whole time I'm just thinking, where's Jayden Daniels? And I really hope that, as Dan Quinn told the team, he was sitting somewhere, not thinking about football, getting his mind right. He could put the VR headset down for a week, maybe play some Fortnite, whatever he needed to do to get himself correct physically and mentally, because, we talked about it after the last game and it seemed like he had his edge back. It seemed like he was where he started the season, both mentally and physically. And look, this is the home stretch. These are the most important games of the season. We've been saying they take it one game at a time. That has been Dan Quinn's message in this bye week is, look, we know that there are potentially big things on the horizon, but we've got one game in front of us this week. And I mean, Corey, he must have been listening to Warpath Wednesdays because he got the right message for this team. And like I said, these are the most important games of the season right here. The road to 11 is alive and well. A couple of other games, if they go our way, we're a 6 seed into the playoffs. And I mean, it's a big time. It's a big time to be a Commanders fan. And if you're not dialed in for these games, well, you might as well pack it up and go home, because this is where things really get interesting for Washington.
Yeah, it's nice not to have to listen to people talk about mock drafts and everything at this time. In this point of the season, last year it was. I mean, people were making mock drafts in what was it, like August or something? Not August, but in October. So it's good to feel like we have something worth fighting for, worth playing for. And like you said, it's one game at a time. Like Dan Quinn has said, it's one game at a time, and that's what you have to be at this season. Now, we do know that everything worth having is also worth losing some things. Noah Brown, it was announced that he's probably going to miss the rest of the season. He has an internal injury, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of devastated about this injury. Now, I know some people may look at it and like, oh, well, it's Noah Brown. He drops balls and everything. He's drawn 5 or 6 pass interferences this year. He's been great in run blocking. He can go up and get contested catches when he needs to. He pretty much won the Chicago game for you.
Oh, it's the immaculate reception. And without him, nobody's back there to catch that ball.
Exactly. So, thoughts on Noah Brown missing probably the rest of the season? That's the second offensive weapon that's went down here in the last 3 to 4 weeks. The first one being Austin Eckler, and they were major cogs in this offense.
Definitely. And I think you hit the nail right on the head with Noah Brown. We've given him a lot of flack, even on these shows. We have, we've given him the business about a lot of the drops that he has had, how he has underperformed in some games, a couple of plays that, quite frankly, if they had gone our way and he had made the play, the game probably would have ended differently.
True.
But I think that those are very small individual moments compared to what he has contributed to this team overall, game in and game out. 35 receptions on 56 targets for 453 yards. Look, those are not overtly spectacular numbers. Those are not superstar wide receiver numbers by any means. However, at the beginning of the season, we talked about how somebody in this group was going to have to step up and create opportunities for other guys on the field other than Terry. Somebody was going to have to draw attention to be a problem in coverage. And frankly, game in and game out, that has been Noah Brown. He has been somebody, as you mentioned, that is all over the field. His physicality set the tone for us on offense, even was when he wasn't a true playmaker with the football in his hands, if the football even got to his hands. But this is a devastating loss. And for a Washington team that we have said all season long is a sum of its parts, you really cannot afford to lose any of those parts. Now we have seen, as you correctly pointed out, Austin Eckler, a big loss for the run component of the offense. Noah Brown, now a big loss for the passing component of the offense. And now I think it begs the question, before we get into anything, where do we see some of the production picked up from the rest of the guys on this offense? Because the one name that comes to my mind predominantly, we're looking for more Zach Ertz, I think.
I thought I didn't know you. I didn't think you were gonna go there.
No, I'm saving my loop wheel. I think if you're looking at the big names and the playmakers on this team, Zach Ertz is now in a position where we've been wanting him to step up all season. I think he now needs to step up for this Commanders team. He has got to be somebody that is in the middle of the field, wreaking havoc on opposing defenses, confusing them, if nothing else, and ideally getting his hands on the football, because the Commanders, as I mentioned, are down a serious pass-catching threat on offense. I mean, he's got 52 receptions for 501 yards. He does outskirt Noah Brown a little bit in both of those categories, but they've been quiet plays. And I think in what you could call not really a get-right game, but an opportunistic game for this Commanders offense, Ertz is a big possibility as somebody that could step up, and I'm curious if you have any other ideas.
Well, you got that. Don just said in the comments, you got De'Ami Brown. I think he's warranted opportunity. It's in the passing component, right?
Yeah.
I think he's warranted more burn there. My boy Paulie, he always says, get him going, and probably the biggest threat in the screen game. So that's probably what you're looking, something behind the sticks, developing those screens and everything. I want to see more out of Senate.
I mean, you're right. We pinned him as one of our biggest disappointments.
Yeah, he's been one of the most disappointing there. But yeah, back to your point, Zach Ertz. To me, Zach Ertz is doing what I thought he was going to do at the beginning of the season. Like he's right around, like I said, this is probably a 600-700 yard guy. He's at 501 with 4 games to go. Get you about 6-7 touchdowns. He's almost there too. So, I mean, I don't know how much more you like, and I'm not saying you, but how much we can ask of him.
Yeah,
I feel like he's at his age is superseding expectations too. So I need one of these young guys to come in here, whether it's your boy Luke, whether it's De'Ami coming in, or maybe if it's Alameda and he steps up and finally actually learns how to catch the ball. I know.
Don't even get me started on a lot.
But
on my bad list.
I know y'all gonna excommunicate him from the grounds and everything. But those cats have to step up. It's like the same thing when Austin Eckler went down. Who had to step up? Chris Rodriguez stepped up and balled. I don't want to squeeze the orange so hard on Zach Ertz that you're just not going to get any juice out of him there. So I think he needs to do what he continues to do what he's doing, and somebody else has got to step up. They got to find the production.
Well, and I think as like you and Don point out, maybe this then is the opportunity for Sinnott to turn what we have labeled as a disappointing season around. It feels like when, Peters and Harris and Quinn were putting this roster together, there was a very deliberate strategy of let's get some of these older veteran players that have a little bit left in their game that can help us out. But in the same way that we've discussed as with Lattimore, we're bringing them in for their IQ. We're
Yep.
bringing them in to help develop and teach the young guys on this roster. Now that the Commanders are in a position where there is a need, this is no longer a want, this is a need. Maybe we do finally see, with the stove on a little bit and a fire under his ass, Sinnott start to show up a little bit more in Cliff's offense. And this is not just only on him, but from Cliff and Dan to be more comfortable putting him on the field, because as we've talked about time and time again, it's not really his lack of production. It's really his lack of overall presence through 4 quarters, week in and week out.
Yeah, and you could say that that's a Jayden thing too, where he leans into Zach a little bit more. He leans into Noah Brown a little bit more. Maybe if you take those guys away, and maybe if those guys get away, like we just said about Ertz, maybe if they scheme up Ertz a little bit more where Noah Brown is out, that's going to lead to Senate. That's going to lead to your Luke McCaffreys and everything picking up this spot. So, you remove a safety blanket, it's going to light a fire on everybody's hind, and not just Senate's, but everybody in the know. It's going to light it under Jayden. It's going to light it under these receivers that are going to step up. I think that's a great point by you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's time. I think that we've been very fortunate in the way that Jayden has been able to kind of rest on his laurels with the playmakers that he knew that he had. And sure, we've seen some great chemistry develop, but now I think we're at a point where we're going to see who he can dig out and who Jayden actually has the ability to elevate because of how special he is, not who he is going to be able to pair with because they're both so fantastic, if that makes sense.
Right.
This is where you separate great quarterbacks from special quarterbacks. Jayden has done some remarkable things on the field, but so much of what he has done has either been on his individual merits with his own rushing ability or relying on the equal greatness of his receivers making the big time play in the big time moment. And it was his own skill that put them in that position. Now I want to see Jayden pull somebody else up and elevate somebody else's play in a way that we haven't seen throughout this season.
Yeah. I think that's great. That's a great point by you, is that, you show me you can flex your muscle, right? And you can do everything. Show me that you're smart. Show me that you're smart. Show me that you're creative. It's now you have painted everything. You've painted the wall of the Sistine Chapel. Now show me the details. Show me those
one final bit. I think that this is where Jayden's his dedication to his craft and all of his preparation is going to be more important than ever.
Well,
because we know that he is willing to do the work. We know he is willing to go to the film, to understand the things that are going on around him. Now we've got to see him implement it. And it's a matter of understanding the guys that he has around him in a situation where he isn't blessed with a plethora of talent.
This is also a good teachable moment and learnable moment for Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
How are you going? And that Sistine Chapel references to him too. You show me that when you've got all your toys in a row, you've got everything, you can run. Now this is where, because all the great teams somehow find some weird, crazy ass injury that derails them or appears to derail them. I think about the Packers back in 2010. Aaron Rodgers only Super Bowl. They didn't have a running back worth a damn. They had they leaned on James Starks. You look right now at what Detroit's doing with no Aiden Hutchinson. These key role players. You can run deep and you can run long, but you have to have the cognitive ability to go out there and execute and put a game plan together, not just to showcase your scheme. This is what we found the last 4 years is, dictate to the scheme. How do you adjust? And make it so everybody can succeed, so everybody can eat? And how do you make up for that loss of production, not only in the passing game, but also in the run game as well? Because like we said at the top of this, he's a hell of a run blocker.
Well, and I think that one of my biggest concerns for this week and moving forward as we start to look ahead is Cliff's adjustment and you want to talk about lighting the burner under somebody, this is a very, very dangerous position for Cliff Kingsbury to be in, because we spent so much time talking about his offensive regression throughout history and how he has struggled to put together a back half of the season that keeps teams in position to be successful. We saw the famine. We saw the famine for this offense where nobody could get anything done. We remember the beginning of the season where Cliff, even with a full roster of weapons, was not able to get the ball to Terry, whether, we'll diffuse a little bit of blame there between Cliff and Jayden. He's got to find a way to get his playmakers the ball now, and it's going to be more difficult than ever.
Yeah, and they just released the injury report. It looks like Noah Brown kidney. And that's what I feared. I thought when they said internal, I was thinking one of those organs.
That's like a UFC injury right there. Yeah. A couple too many kidney kicks down the road, and it starts to break down on you.
Lord have mercy. Zach Ertz, he rests. They said he was a hamstring, but that's just a veteran day.
I stand by my comments on Eckler as we get to him too. I think that he needs to have a serious conversation about hanging him up.
Exactly. Yeah. Cleveland Farrell, he did not practice either. Zane Gonzalez, left foot. We're going to talk about that too. Quan Martin, shoulder, he was limited. Him and Gonzalez were limited. That's not good for a kicker to be limited in practice, but it is Wednesday. I'm just going to shut my mouth on that one. Jamison Crowder, full. He's coming off that calf injury. Dante Fowler, full. He has a groin. Noah Igbenogany, he's a thumb, but he was full. Marshon Lattimore, boys and girls, his hamstring, that ham is getting strong because he's looking to get some gumbo this weekend back in his old stomping ground. He was a full participant. Jordan McGee, elbow, full participant. And Andrew Wiley, he was in that concussion protocol, but he is full. He was a full practice as well.
And that's huge.
Yeah, looks like he's going to go as well. Would you have ever believed, we say this, if we were sitting there last year and said, that's huge that Andrew Wiley is healthy, is going to be healthy for Sunday.
But that's the story of the season so far, is that it has just been, it feels like we're just beating the dead horse, but it doesn't end, guys. I think it comes down to what we spent so much time talking about at the beginning of the season, that there is a culture on this team that has the ability to revitalize careers, an ability to elevate guys' play, whether they've got the guys around them or not. And Wiley and this offensive line being back at full strength is going to be massive. We look back to, 3 weeks ago now, we had 3 questionable left guards and we didn't know who we were going to put at the position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you ain't lying. But hey, so on this injury report, Zane Gonzalez is on there as limited with his left foot. He does boot with his right foot, correct? So that's his plan. Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, I told you this, last week maybe? Yeah, because we didn't do it on Thanksgiving. So I said, if I'm Dan Quinn and them, I'm bringing in kickers to try out, because you can't go in to a game where a kicker comes in here and he was more successful looking like a Just for Men
head and shoulders ad.
Yeah, just a little head and shoulders ad with everything, with his hat and with his hair and everything. And it could be OCD. I'm not making fun of him for that, but it's a serious problem when this cat is missing a 46-yarder, which these are makeable in the NFL now, and a 51-yarder, and he missed them poorly. Now, if they're coming up short, we'd be like, oh, okay, well, at least he had the accuracy. These things, it's a crazy cliche question, but did they do enough with the
I think that the answer is flat out no. I think we had a great time last week, just absolutely ripping into these kickers and the performance of this. And frankly, everybody, jokes that managing your fantasy team is not being an NFL GM. With regard to the kicker position, there is absolutely no reason why they should not be running that position like a fantasy manager. I change my kicker basically every week. There is somebody in the world. I was thinking about you yesterday because I saw this TikTok where they brought out 3 guys from the LSU soccer team and the LSU kicker. and they had him kicking field goals, and the soccer players were hitting 50-yard bombs dead through the uprights with room to go. And I was sitting there thinking, Lord have mercy, if we were watching this video on stream. It's literally
Sign him.
intentionally leaving points on the board.
Sign him.
You cannot be you just cannot afford this. It's mind-boggling that for how smart this organization has been in its acquisitions and the strategic moves that they have made, that they are not willing to cut their losses and just pick up new kickers. There are people out there that are willing to be kickers, that have the leg to do it, that have the ability to kick 40-yard field goals consistently. It does not make sense why they basically are not hitting the fantasy manager portal and just picking up new guys week in and week out. I would try anybody new over putting Zane Gonzalez back in this game, because it feels like you are acknowledging that you are not going to be comfortable kicking a 45-plus yard field goal, which means that in a lot more situations, I think you're going to be relying on Jayden to get you out of a tough spot on fourth down, which he's been able to do. However, it might be okay against the Saints when I'm looking at that Eagles rematch and I'm looking at how their missed field goals kept us in that game when we were in no position through the first half to be in striking distance. I don't understand how they can watch that game and continue to operate under this guise that Zane Gonzalez is going to be the guy and that there is nobody else out there for us to acquire that we can put faith in to hit field goals and extra points for that matter.
Chris Blewett's still out there, so I mean, we could bring him back in. How about Cade York though? Right? No, now we know why he was missing field goals. His girlfriend's a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader.
He just wanted out.
Yeah, he just wanted out. Why? She was like, I think there needs to be an NFL investigation on him missing those field goals in Tampa. But yeah, I mean, I don't get it. It seemed like you had all this time to go out here and try.
I don't know, bye week, no less.
That's that's my point. Is that the bye week was here? You could have brought in every Tom, Dick, and Harry that you wanted to kick balls. Also, I mean, you could have went down there. UVA has a good soccer program, don't they? You could have bust some boys up from Charlottesville, said, who's probably still working there. They're probably working down there at Mellow Mushroom or something, or working at the Graduate. You can bring them boys up here and just work them out and see how they're doing. And but to me, with every good thing that we do, there's always got to be something that's just like a head scratcher. And right now, the neglect of the kicker position, and maybe this is a point too, William, is the fact that they feel like they got to give him an opportunity. They're just saying this is one bad day. Okay, if this is October, I understand it a little bit more. This is December. This is do or die time for whatever you're trying to do.
This is the greatest football. If you are playing in the NFL, you are expected to be one of the greatest football players on
Brandon
the face
Aubrey
of
wasn't
the planet.
a kicker either. He wasn't a kicker in college.
No, just anybody could do it. And soccer players, frankly, are probably a better bet than continuing down this path of guys that are or were former NFL kickers. You are playing in the NFL. There is an expectation that you are one of the best on the planet. 7 billion people on the planet at kicking a football. It doesn't make sense why you're missing a 45-yard field goal.
We claimed KJ Osborne off of waivers from New England.
Really?
Yes, that's just coming up here as well. See, this is why we do stuff live. Let's see. I think that's what they just said here. Let me see. Did I read it? Yes, Commanders claim KJ Osborne off of waivers from New England per his agent Drew Rosenhaus and Robert Bailey, according to Adam Schefter. There you go.
I mean, look, it is a continuation of what we've said all season. This front office, if this team needs something, they are playing a win now game, and they are willing to spend the money and make the moves necessary to go get guys that they need.
Besides kicker.
Well, yeah, but we'll leave that to an aside. But look, I mean, KJ Osborne, He's nothing flashy. Noah Brown wasn't really anything particularly flashy, but you're looking at a
Mm-mm.
guy that he's got 4 years already under his belt, a good little run in Minnesota. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not upset about it. I'm not upset about it at all. 17 games at 21 and 22, 16 and 23. He's had 7 this season, 7 receptions, 18 targets for 57 yards and 1 touchdown. It's not pretty, it's gritty, but that's the name of this Commanders offense right now,
And
and they
that's what
got the
Noah
job done.
Brown was.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty, not pretty, but gritty. So and very similar numbers to him, right? 16 touchdowns to boot. I mean, his numbers have declined since the 2021 season. Had 655, 650, 540, and now 57. But we know that in New England, benefit of doubt, New England is having some growing pains, we'll call it, up there. So that's a good move to get a receiver when you need it. But why can't you have the same energy with the kicker?
No, it's
Why
beyond
can't you
me.
have the same? It's
It's
wild.
beyond me. And the price tag is a lot cheaper for the kicker than anybody else you're going to be getting in the league.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Uptown Dre. Hawk is in the building. Go get Justin Tucker. I don't know about that Hawk. If this was last year, I'd say maybe. Chase might be good with Dan Quinn. We'll talk about that in a second. Stats online. KJ would be good for next season, and we need people for right now, not next season. Let's get into this then. Let's get into the New Orleans Saints. Right, 5-8 on the season. They have had injuries galore, like mash unit. Um, Dennis Allen was fired mid-season. Since then, Darren Rizzi has been the head coach. He's a special teams coordinator for him. And as the young folks say, I don't know if you use this term or not. The Riz is real, right? And they're 3-1 since then. They come off a 14-11 victory over the New York Football Giants, who are trying to lose, trying to win. I really don't know, but no Derek Carr, thank God. This team is a big enigma. I would think they're playing hard. They're playing good ball. They lost Olave. They still have Kamara out there, who's a receiving and in addition to being a running threat. Um, what's your initial thoughts on the New Orleans Saints here?
I mean, I think it harkens back to what we've said all season, that the Commanders need to take this one game at a time. And I think that the Saints are one of those teams right now, particularly with Rizzi at the helm, with no real clear quarterback situation, that
Mm-hmm.
whoever they put in the game, they're going to be willing to take shots. And they have Kamara, who we know potentially not now as much as in the past, but is a game-changing player on offense. And so there is a fear, and they cannot overlook this Saints team. Logan Paulson brought up a great point that it feels a lot like the Dallas game,
Yes.
where they're a dysfunctional organization right now. They don't really have a clear trajectory. There's no real sense of superstardom on the team and no real leadership without a quarterback or a permanent head coach. But because of
Chase
that,
Young.
I'll call it the Jameis Winston effect. I mean, they are going to go out there and they're going to take relentless shots at this Commanders team because they have nothing to lose. And I
No.
think that is very, very dangerous for Washington, particularly because it's not like the Saints are unaware of how important each and every game is for the team at this point, and they're going to be looking to knock us off our pedestal.
Yeah. I mean, and the only team that they've lost to in that stretch, none of these teams have winning records. The Atlanta Falcons, really, the Saints were the team that started the downfall of the Atlanta Falcons. Cleveland Browns, they blew them out at home. They lost to the LA Rams only by 7, though, in LA. Oh, no, it was
Who
at
are
New
playing
Orleans.
fantastic
Yeah,
football right
playing
now.
some beat the Bills on Sunday, and then playing close, gritty games. Since Darren Rizzi has taken over, too, they've only allowed over 20 points once, and that was in a loss. They've allowed 17, 14, 21, and 11. Hello. Let's not sleep on these guys. Let's not sleep on them because, like you said, this is like the Dallas game. Hello. Don't take. And plus, what's going to make this even more deplorable if we do come out here and lay an egg is you had a bye week. So this is the second time that you've come off an extended break and you've laid an egg.
Mm.
And it turns into an excuse. You've turned a crutch into an excuse. You've turned the benefit of doubt into pity. That's exactly what you're doing if you don't go out here. Like Washington needs to come out and wear this team out like they did Tennessee, Carolina, and Cleveland. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. I mean, every game at this point is a must win. As we
Yeah.
talked about, this is the most important part of the season. And you bring up a great point that this is kind of the double-edged sword of the bye week. Washington was battered and bruised and was in desperate need of a little downtime to get some guys correct, get everybody feeling good before we get into this back stretch. However, you lose the momentum that you had built up coming off of what was an absolutely massive victory, a victory that was in a lot of ways a get right game for this team that had been struggling. And of course, you're coming right off that loss to Dallas and what is a massive rivalry game. And everybody knows that was weighing heavily on Jayden and Dan's shoulders. So you really do have to look at this as sort of a, not fresh season, but a fresh start. And they can't afford to have those same, obviously in a different context, but those same kinks and those same off moments that they had in that first Tampa game of the season. They need to come out in the powerhouse offensive form that has put them in the position to have the fifth most productive offense in the NFL, the third most productive rushing offense in the NFL. And, that statistic is really the one that sticks out because this is a game where Cliff needs to get out there and establish the run early against this Saints defense that is not, with the exception of Chase Young, going to be very well equipped to stop it.
Yeah. I mean, and that they have to they got to be ready. They've got to be ready. This is not taking any team lightly. And you mentioned him already. The Predator himself, Chase Young, didn't work out here in Washington for whatever reason. And we can revisit that if we want to. But I mean, I think part of it was work ethic and poor leadership. Right. I think those were the combination of two things because there's no denying that he is a talent. But my problem was when he was in Washington, you either were for him, it was perceived you were for him or against him. And what I mean by for him, like you excused everything he did, every behavior he did. Now, if you had a critical opinion of him, you were against him, which that's not true. I don't think that's true. But both things can be true at the same time. But I think Young is going to be motivated. And don't forget, this is a kind of a return home game for Jayden Daniels too, from playing at LSU also. So he's going to be jazzed up for this game as well. But Chase Young, how you think he's going to come out here and play?
Well, I mean, I think you hit it spot on. He's definitely going to be coming out here fiery and ready to shut down a lot of those naysayers in Washington throughout his career. Obviously, there were a multitude of other issues that led to him probably not being as productive, as he would have liked to be. And well, yeah, exactly. And as his fans would have expected, but he does seem to have his edge back, and it took him bouncing around a little bit. It took him being cut, being picked up, getting sent, all over the country to kind of get it back. But look, he has had somewhat of not a stellar season, but a good season. And it seems like he has his head on his shoulders once again. I think that the biggest issue for the Saints is that he is not enough to keep this defense on its toes. And they currently sit with the third most yards allowed per game in the NFL with 380. That's only less than the Jaguars and the Panthers. This defense is really just not very good. And while I think that Chase is going to come out ripping and roaring and wanting to make a statement, I just don't think that even on his best day, it will be enough to combat what was a very high-powered Commanders offense before heading into the bye week.
Yeah, 28th in passing, 25th in rushing. They are the worst defense against the run per carry, averaging 5 yards opponents are averaging 5 yards per carry against them. So, and if you do common math, boys and girls out there, every second run is a first down. Not good. And let me take a look at some of this. I mean, they have aging Teron Matthews on there, Cam Jordan's still on there. Like, their best players are old now. Cam Jordan, 35. Tyrann Matthews, 32. Demario Davis, who's been a pretty good linebacker, he's 35 for this team. There's a lot of guys on this squad that are aging out, and we kind of, in a way, got one of the younger guys, Marshon Lattimore, who we talked about. He's coming back here. He's going to be juiced as well against probably a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback. And is Hayner a second-year quarterback? I didn't remember.
Hayner's a rookie.
He's a rookie too, so he got two
2023 draft. 2023 draft.
Okay, so second-year guy and him, and then Spencer Rattler as well. So, I mean, there's going to be opportunities, and there's a lot of familiarity because they went through camp together. I'm looking for this dude to show out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he has to. And before, we get to how this defense will perform, I think it's important to make very clear that while we started off the show kind of getting after Cliff and needing to make sure that he is being creative enough on offense to get his guys the football with the loss of Noah Brown, and that he needs to, step his game up from what we've seen, I think at the end of the day, this is a very, very simple game plan and an opportunity for him to, build some momentum, run the damn ball. Like, this team, this Washington team is built to play with the lead. They play so much better when they come out and they throw that first punch. We saw it with B-Rob taking off for the 40-yard run. It is the run game that when it gets going early and it punches a defense in the mouth, that frees up Jayden. You can see almost a weight off of his shoulders. I think that he's so afraid, not afraid of losing, but he hates losing so much that when he sees the Commanders' offense get up to that early start and strike fast, he plays with this freedom, knowing that he has the lead. He's comfortable there. He's willing to take more risks. He's willing to be more aggressive with his own runs. And I think that Cliff needs to use this opportunity as a framework for how to be successful throughout the rest of the year. And it starts with him getting out there, getting the run going early with Rodriguez and with Robinson, and putting Jayden in a position then to play more free and more aggressive.
Yeah, and I think you can do that, and you don't have to worry about the elements being in the Superdome too.
Yep.
That's you can get that offense going a little bit. And this is a place that's been kind of friendly to Washington. Oh, in my time of being a fan, I think we've only lost one time there since 2001. RG3's debut was there. We beat Drew Brees and company on there, returned back to New Orleans back in the December of 2006 there. I think Sunday night, Marty Schottenheimer's boys beat them. Only time we lost to them, we had a lead and we let them back in the game back in 2017 with Jay Gruden. And that was a Samaje P. Ryan special too, because he decided to take the ball out of Samaje's hand. So, I mean, we need to go. This is another game this is not a get right game. This is a tone setting game for you. And you cannot trap yourself. And this is why I say you have to have that one game at a time mentality, is the fact that you can overlook this. You can overlook the Saints for Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you don't want to do, because you're going to be sitting there. You're going to be looking like yourself 8-6, probably staring 8-7 in the face with Philadelphia. If you don't handle business, you don't handle church business on Sunday.
Yeah. And I do think, on the note of the environment, as you mentioned, it has been friendly. I think that this is going to be one of the more friendlier New Orleans environments that we have seen in a long time, particularly because, as you mentioned, it is Jayden's homecoming. I would imagine that we are going to see a lot of purple and gold in the stadium. A lot of people that, while they might be Saints fans, are rooting for Jayden and are looking for a little bit of that LSU magic out of him. I think that, you said it perfectly, that this is the foundation for how the Commanders end the season. And you obviously at this point would call every game a must win, but this game in particular is a definitive must win, because you just have the sense that if this does not go the Commanders' way, everything is going to fall apart. It is too late in the game to be looking for a chip on your shoulder. They need to be going into this Eagles game at home with the most confidence possible that they can get in there and win this game. And I think that if they do not go out and have a stellar offensive performance, they're not going to have the confidence that they need, that they could take down the Eagles, who, while dealing with some internal turmoil of their own right now, are still white hot and have enough weapons to dismantle any team in the league.
And don't forget, too, they're coming off one of the most physical. They're going to be coming off a game against one of the most physical teams in the league.
It's a
in the
real role
Steelers.
reversal. It's a real role reversal from what we saw in that game.
Right. Yeah.
And Washington needs to be A, healthy, B, on their P's and Q's, have gone through the motions in this game to get themselves correct. I'm very happy that is not the game that is coming in off the bye week. I would be way more afraid of what that Eagles outcome would be if we were playing them this week on 2 weeks of rest. This is a game where you're sharpening the axe and you are trying to figure out what is really going to work when we have to attack a prolific team like those boys in Kelly Green.
Oh, yeah. So on the Saints here, we'll start on defense. Give me a guy that pops out to you on there.
I mean, like I mentioned, you got a shallow pool. We're looking at puddles here when you look at the Saints defense, but I think it's an easy one. I think you're looking at Chase Young's return to Washington. As we discussed, this is a guy that faced so much criticism in Washington and really, to be fair, had to overcome a lot to even be in the position that he is in now in the league. Not to say that there was an indication that his career was over, but it certainly didn't look like he was going to have a very lengthy future. And it feels like the Saints have given him a bit of a new lease on life here. 22 total tackles, 13 singles. He's got 3.5 sacks. They're not spectacular numbers, but it's just that. It's a lease on life. They've given him a lifeline, and he's shown up, and he's reciprocated what they need from him. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table and how he challenges Jayden to be better when he starts to get after him a little bit against his former team.
Yeah, fourth leading sacker on the team. I'll give you another one. I think his other inmate, Carl Granderson, 4.5 sacks for him this year, and appearing in all 13 games so far this season for him. Forced fumble as well, and 7 tackles for losses, which is tied for the team lead. I think that if both of these cats can set the edge, they can make a hard day for Jayden Daniels. So on defense, I'll give it to Granderson as you give it to Chase Young. On our side for defense, I've mentioned them already. Marshon Lattimore. This is not only his homecoming, but this is to see where he is. Because let's be honest with you,
to say
this could be Adam Peters' big bomb or big egg, because you've given him 4 weeks to get right, and if he goes out here and lays an egg, you look foolish, and you got egg all over your face. So I'm on the side of hope, but I think he's gonna go out here. I think maybe he may even get a pick 6. How great would that be?
Oh,
that'll write the
Don't
script.
even tempt me. See, because I was just about to say right before you throw that bad juju in the air, I have a concern that because of the state of the pass protection in Washington, this kind of Messiah complex that we have built up with regard to Marshon Lattimore is dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, he has had time to, recovered from that hamstring injury. He has had time to understand what Joe Witt expects of him, understand the pieces that he has around him, and how at this point in his career he can best benefit this group. But I worry that there is still a chance that the fan expectation and the hopes for what he might be bringing to this team are too lofty. And so I'm psyched for the revenge game. I do still stand by that. I think he is a phenomenal add to this defense. I think he is going to make a world of difference compared to the guys that he had next to him, or I guess that he rather replaced. But I'm tempering my expectations and am leaving room to be really, really excited with regard to his return, particularly just because of, even with the staff that they had, how we've talked about this defense evolving week over week. I don't want him, not that I think he would, to come in and inhibit that chemistry that they've developed. I want him to facilitate Mikey to have more opportunities to get on the outside, give Chin more room to be aggressive at the football. And so I still see him in more of a supportive role and not a true playmaker. But hey, if he goes out there and he gets a interception, all bets are off. I'm going to be screaming my head off and, praying to him to save this season more than anybody else.
God. I forgot about the Drew Brees game back in 2018, 43-19. Forgot about that. Alontae Taylor is a defense player to watch for. He is a guy replacing Marshon. He does not want to look foolish at Marshon returns and performs well, and he doesn't. Thank you,
Not
Jeremy.
wrong.
Yeah, there you go. But I go with the law of averages. It's been a nicer place to us because the game was set up anyway, right? The Monday night when Drew Brees had the record touchdown pass and everything, that was already made up for them to win. I ain't talking about that. Let's switch on offense. Who you looking at on offense? I think you and I are probably gonna go with the same person.
For the Saints,
Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm looking at a big gaping hole. I just don't understand who they're going to put at quarterback right now. We don't really seem to have any indication. The last time I checked, you've got Spencer Rattler, who is fine. You've got Jake Hayner, who is fine. They seem to have a real crisis of leadership in that regard. I think that one of the most dangerous things that you could do at this point in the season, regardless of the fact that, there isn't really anything on the line for them, is just not having a clear and decisive leader on offense and continuing to switch them up in practice. I think for right or wrong, it would benefit the Saints to just hard set, make their decision. And so I'm curious to see, who they do put in, because I do think it will make a difference. And I think that, as I mentioned, there will be a Jameis Winston effect to both of these guys where they're going to be out there looking to create magic, and they are not going to be afraid to take shots against this Commanders secondary. They're going to go out there and try to sling the rock. And so I'm looking at the ambiguous quarterback position, because I think whoever they do decide to put in is going to have a big game and is going to be expected to have a good game. And frankly, I expect them to come out and make a big play or two. And the Commanders are going to have to see how they respond to getting punched in the chin.
Yeah. Let's see here. Y'all are tripping and counting on Ertz. Bryson Tremaine gonna get called up and play well. Well, we hope. Hey, we hope he's on that practice squad. We'll see. He got the big body.
Somebody's got to.
Yep. We got Ertz here. Saints waxed us, and the Eagles waxed us, and Chad Deuce rants on both occasions were hilarious. Yeah, that was not a good game down there in New Orleans, but thank God that was 6 years ago. That's back when Alex Smith was still walking. I mean, the only person they really got on offense that I would even say that worries me is Alvin Kamara, but
Wow.
I don't think you can sleep on Valdez-Scantling either. Moreau is a okay target as well, and we can be susceptible to the tight end play at times. Remember, Valdez-Scantling decided to go to New Orleans rather than come here in the middle of the season when we were looking for receiver help. So Boy,
Well,
I
I
would
will
like
say
to
on the
talk to him
Kamara
now.
factor as well, we've seen how the Commanders have struggled to stop the run against good
Man,
teams. And if he's able to get his legs going, particularly late in the stretch, the defense needs to be prepared to handle that because that is how teams are going to try to get back into games against us. And if
yep.
Saquon's able to go out there and keep ripping off chunk plays, who's to say that Kamara can't?
And what are you gonna do to help your young quarterback out too, right? Easy throws out of the backfield, and if you use him as that chess piece, he's gonna make your life a living hell.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't need that happening here. I forgot they had Jamal Williams. But I don't think he's played in a while. Has he played lately? Okay. It doesn't matter in there. So let's see who needs to show off on offense for us Sunday.
I mean, I'm looking for a Jayden Daniels leadership role. I'm looking for him to show up and set the tone for this team. I want to see him do it with his legs. I want to see him do it with his arms. I want him to come out in the same way that I discussed earlier with the edge that we saw him get back against the Titans. He had struggled, not to say that it was all his fault, but he didn't look his sharpest. He still looked timid, and we saw something click back on in his mind in that last game. And if Washington wants to have a run deep in the season, it's no surprise that it's going to have to come from him. And so he is going to have to show up. I want to see him set the tone in a big, big way for how the rest of the season is going to go. And he knows all eyes are on him. He knows it comes down to him. And like I said, this is what separates the greats from those that are special. And if Jayden Daniels is going to truly go down as special and have a truly special rookie season, it's going to come down to how he shows up in this home stretch.
Yeah, I gotta go B-Rob because it's December. It's getting cold outside, even though you're gonna be inside the dome. But that is a place that he's familiar to running in because of Alabama and their relations to the Sugar Bowl and everything like that. So I gotta go B-Rob. He set the tone against the Titans. If he runs well, this team is winning, and I think also if they're running ahead and he's sitting down in the third quarter, you good, and you can bring Chris Rodriguez in, and he can be like Chad Cordero back in 2005, coming in for the save and clean it up for you. So I like B-Rob in this avenue and in this building for Washington on the offensive side of the ball in that respect. So here we go.
It's a home stretch. It's every single game counts. Every single game, they need to take it game by game, but they need to go out there ready to beat the brakes off some teams because none of these wins are going to come easy. None of them. Every single team, whether they're in it or not, is going to see the Commanders as a target to be the ones that took them out of the race. They need to come out of this bye week refreshed, but as sharp as ever because there isn't a lot of time left to make your mark. The 11-win dream is still in there. They're going to have some tough tests. That Eagles game, not to look ahead, but that's going to be a big one. And they need to use this, like you said, as the set the tone for how the rest of the season is going to go as we look towards the P word.
Snap your foot in their backside. That's all you got to do. Take souls. That's what you need to do. It's all about breaking backs and taking names. Yeah, I'm going to stop before I get in trouble. Give me a final score.
38-17.
Oh, I got an ass kicking. Okay, I like it.
I'm going 30. I want the tone. I'm here for a statement.
Huh. They've played really well defensively the last few weeks. New Orleans has. I'm going to bring that number down. I'm going to go 24-10. We win.
I like that.
24-10. We win. And we get ready for Philadelphia. I just feel like two things is going to happen. I feel like they're going to be tougher than we think. And then I think they may catch us slipping a little bit, kind of looking like getting mentally like, oh, we need to go. Philadelphia's coming up. And I say, F Philly, eat what's right in front of you. That's what I always say. So, but I'll move it up one. 27-10. There we go. Zane
All right.
Gonzalez gets a field goal to shut us up.
Lord hopes. Oh my God. If he misses a field goal next week, you need
Oh,
to be
God.
here, because if he misses a field goal this week,
This
we're
guy.
spending a full hour talking about how Zane Gonzalez never needs to kick another football for the rest of his life.
The hell we are. We're gonna spend like 6 minutes on it. That's it. Hey, if you get Craig and Logan to do a special on that, we can come on here and talk an hour about it. But I appreciate you, Will, as we get ready for New Orleans. KJ Osborne's here, and we move on. Hopefully, well wishes to Noah Brown. Hopefully, he can get back healthy. And I don't know if it's season ending yet. They haven't mentioned it, but they say he's going to be out probably for the rest of the regular season. So if you do get in the P word, maybe he might be back. I don't know, but well wishes to him, and because that's no joke when you talk about them kidneys. But anything else for the good of the cause, man?
It's time.
It's time. Gut check time. Let's go. Let's go. Yes. Anyway, we keep that same damn energy. We outlast the best together. Sanchez 405. Love, peace, and hell. Make sure you check out Take Command Podcast. Follow Will on Twitter. You see him right there, right beside his name, so you can follow him there. We out of here. Somebody play the damn theme music. Let's get out of here and get something to eat. Let's get a snack, like Rex Ryan says. We out.